Welcome back to Civil Defiance. Take a deep breath, look around you. The most immediate threats we discuss: inflation, censorship, border crises. They are all distractions, meticulously placed tripwires to keep your focus here now on the ephemeral. But the real battle, the one that defines the future of human liberty, is being fought on a scale you can't even see. The fight is not for your wealth or your speech or even your territory. The fight is for time. Tonight, we expose the Chronos-Caste System, the systemic, deliberate weaponization of proprietary longevity science and health technology to create a new biological aristocracy, a ruling class that is not just richer, but literally lives longer, stays healthier, and accumulates power exponentially, while the rest of humanity remains fixed to the natural, decaying limits of the human body. This is the ultimate final fault line of civilization, not the 1% versus the 99%, but the centenarians versus the casualties. For centuries, the rich and the poor died at roughly the same age, barring war or disease. Now that common mortality is being rapidly privatized, patented, and hoarded by an elite that views a normal human lifespan not as a destiny, but as a defect to be engineered away. This isn't science fiction. This is the operational thesis of Silicon Valley and the deepest pockets of Wall Street. For the next hour, we will dissect the three pillars of the Chronos-Caste. First, the gatekeepers of genomic sovereignty. We are talking about CRISPR, about telomere manipulation, about AI-driven personalized drug discovery. These are technologies that promise to extend the healthy human lifespan by decades. But who owns the patents? Who controls the regulatory pipelines? Not the public. The venture capital firms that lobby the Uni-Party for specific intellectual property protections are the same ones locking away the keys to human longevity. Consider the chilling implications of an elite, the masters of the universe, who can expect to live to 130 or 150, fully functional, fully intelligent. Their decisions are not constrained by a 40-year political cycle or even a single lifetime. They can execute geopolitical and financial strategies that span 3 generations. They can wait out political opposition. They can afford to fail repeatedly because time is their unlimited asset. Meanwhile, the average citizen is facing declining public health, collapsing public infrastructure, and life expectancy that is, in many Western nations, already decreasing. We are being shackled to a short clock, while the elite are being handed the keys to the infinite. The outrage is not just economic, it is existential. Second, the political inertia of the Chronos-Caste. Where is the legislative firestorm over this impending biological schism? Where are the bipartisan calls to declare genetic health technology a public utility? They don't exist. Why? Because the Uni-Party, the monolithic structure of Democrats and Republicans alike, is complicit. They are the administrators maintaining the system, while the ultimate beneficiaries of their policies are the Chronos-Caste. Think about the regulations. Why do we see rapid rubber stamp approval for policies that benefit big pharma and proprietary science, while any genuine effort to make fundamental life-saving treatments universally accessible is bogged down in decades of bureaucratic red tape? This is not incompetence, this is design. The complexity of the regulatory framework acts as a deliberate shield, ensuring that only the massive Chronos-Caste-backed entities can navigate it, guaranteeing their monopoly on life extension. The Uni-Party is trading your future, your lifespan, for campaign contributions and promises of inclusion in the elite's medical trials. They maintain the chaos in the short term, ensuring the populace is too distracted to look up and see the biological wall being built between them and their rulers. This is the profound betrayal. Third, the financial model of human obsolescence. The Chronos-Caste system is economically rational for the elite. Why invest in public pensions, social security, or infrastructure for a population whose productive lifespan is finite and whose total cost of maintenance over 80 years is immense? From a purely cold actuarial perspective, the long-lived elite have every incentive to let the short-lived populace decline. The debt crisis, the inflation crisis, The housing crisis, these are not failures of policy. They are accelerants for the Chronos-Caste. They keep the masses indebted, stressed, and medically compromised, ensuring they die on schedule. It's financial warfare designed to enforce biological compliance. The debt is not just monetary, it is an early death sentence that the Chronos-Caste is selling to the public in installment plans. This is the true definition of power, to command not just the labor of the short-lived, but the very duration of their existence. The Chronos-Caste sees you not as a citizen, but as a temporary, replaceable biological unit with a set expiration date, while they transcend that limitation. Civil defiance demands that we recognize this fundamental, terrifying truth before the gap becomes unbridgeable. To understand the audacity of the Chronos-Caste, you must understand that this is not a new playbook. It is the oldest playbook in human history, simply upgraded with the tools of the 21st century. Look at ancient Rome. The patrician class did not just control the Senate and the treasury, they controlled the sacred rites, the calendar, the very flow of time and fortune. They created a legal and social framework that made their power hereditary and self-perpetuating. The plebeians could fight for scraps, for a temporary tribune, but they could never breach the fundamental inherited advantage of the ruling class. What we are witnessing today is the digital and biological reincarnation of this same dynamic. The new patricians are the venture capitalists of Sand Hill Road and the private equity titans of New York. Their Senate is the lobbying apparatus in Washington, and their sacred right, their exclusive magic, is longevity science. They are building a new hereditary aristocracy, not of bloodline, but of baseline biology. A firm like Andreessen Horowitz or Sequoia Capital doesn't just invest in software, they invest in the re-engineering of the human organism. They pour billions into biotech startups whose entire business model is predicated on creating therapies so expensive, so bespoke, that they can only ever be accessible to the founders and their financiers. This isn't a side effect of the market, it is the core objective. They are creating a product, extended life, with a deliberately exclusionary price tag to ensure that the advantage remains concentrated. Their political operatives, disguised as policy advisors and think tank scholars, then descend on Washington. They don't lobby for less regulation in general. That's the public story. They lobby for precisely tailored regulation. They advocate for extending patent protection on gene therapies from 20 years to 50. They push for FDA approval pathways that favor complex, multi-stage treatments over simple, scalable ones. They ensure that any research using public funds that leads to a breakthrough is immediately privatized, its profits firewalled from the taxpayers who funded its discovery. This is how biological segregation is codified into law, creating a permanent, unbreachable gap. The Roman patrician passed on his name and his land. The new Chronos-Caste patrician will pass on a genome edited for resilience, a cellular system resistant to aging, and a lifespan that makes them, for all practical purposes, a different species. Let's drill down into the evidence. You hear about CRISPR and gene editing, and the media frames it as the cure for cancer. That's the narrative camouflage. The reality is that the most lucrative, most proprietary research is moving beyond fixing disease and into performance enhancement. It's about optimizing the human operating system. Companies with names like Altus Labs and Calico, backed by the wealthiest people on the planet, are not just trying to cure your grandmother's arthritis. They're trying to make their own investors functionally immortal. They are developing bespoke, multi-million-dollar protocols, stem cell infusions, telomerase activators, and pharmacological cocktails tailored to a single individual's genetic profile. And this is where the Uni-Party enters the picture. The system ensures that these treatments are classified as lifestyle enhancements or rare disease protocols, justifying the exorbitant costs and limiting public access, rather than being mandated as public health necessities. The Uni-Party's financial patrons demand exclusivity, and the politicians deliver by maintaining the regulatory moat. The intellectual property laws, the trade agreements, the WDO's rulings on compulsory licensing, these are all meticulously crafted by the Uni-Party to protect the financial interests of the Chronos-Caste's R&D wing. They are explicitly prioritizing profit over the fundamental human right to a full lifespan. This is structural violence codified in patent law. We have seen this playbook before: the global IP battle over HIV drugs, over insulin, over essential vaccines. But this is different. This time, the IP controls not just treatment, but existence. The Chronos-Caste is making time a proprietary product. Furthermore, the economic incentives are twisted. The short-lived population is financially penalized. Pensions rely on people dying on schedule. If a significant portion of the population suddenly lives to 110, the entire welfare state collapses. The Uni-Party is caught in a trap. They can't support the public's longevity without collapsing the debt-based economy they built, so their only rational choice is to subtly discourage, or outright prevent, the longevity of the tax base. They create a system of planned obsolescence for human beings. And how do they enforce this planned obsolescence? Through the very fabric of our economy. The system is designed to accelerate your biological clock. Consider the impact of chronic financial stress. The constant anxiety over mortgage payments, student debt, and credit card bills isn't just a mental burden, it is a physiological assault. This stress floods your body with cortisol, a hormone that, over time, degrades your tissues, suppresses your immune system, and directly shortens your telomeres, the protective caps on your chromosomes that dictate cellular aging. Every percentage point increase in the inflation rate is a tax on your lifespan. Every market crash engineered by the financial elite and backstopped by the Uni-Party injects another dose of this aging accelerant into the populace. While you are aging faster under the weight of this manufactured precarity, the Chronos-Caste is insulated. They don't just have financial wealth, they have biological tranquility, they have access to personalized nutritionists, private chefs, and stress mitigation therapies that cost more than the average citizen's annual salary. They receive exclusive medical monitoring, continuous glucose monitors, full body MRIs, and regular blood panels that detect disease markers years before they would ever appear in a standard physical. They are playing a different game with a different set of rules. This extends to the very data that fuels the longevity revolution. Your genomic data, often collected by consumer DNA testing companies and health systems under vague terms of service, is being sold to the highest bidder. It is aggregated into massive data sets used to train AI models. These models then identify the most promising pathways for life extension, but the resulting therapies are not returned to the public whose data created them. They are patented, privatized, and sold back to the Chronos-Caste at astronomical prices. You are providing the raw material for your own biological obsolescence. The high cost of advanced diagnostics is another barrier. A full genome sequence, which could provide a detailed roadmap to your personal health risks and optimization strategies, remains prohibitively expensive for most. The very tools needed to achieve health sovereignty are locked behind a financial firewall. This isn't a failure of the healthcare system, it is the success of a caste system. It is a meticulously designed, two-tiered biological reality, where one class ages and fast forward, while the other purchases the time that has been systematically stripped from the first.
Hey listeners, Clara here. Otto's been laying down some hard truths tonight, showing us how the elite are literally trying to escape mortality itself. The only way we can fight back against the Chronos-Caste is with intellectual defiance. That means bringing them the topics they never want discussed. I'm looking for the next boundary-walking idea that makes the Uni-Party sweat. Don't send me the news. Send me the scientific, philosophical, or systemic fault lines that are being ignored entirely. What is the one thing you believe the powerful are working overtime to keep hidden? Is it a secret technology? A shadow regulatory council? A new financial weapon? We need your raw, unpolished, and most controversial ideas to fuel the next episode of Civil Defiance. You can send your suggestions through the link in the show notes. We are a community of critical thinkers, and your input is our most powerful weapon. Don't be polite. Be defiant. Send us the truth. Now, back to Otto's terrifying analysis.
Thank you, Clara. The Chronos-Caste believes they have locked the gate to the future. They believe their longevity is secure behind a wall of patents, cost barriers, and political silence from the Uni-Party. They are wrong. Civil defiance is the demolition team. The solution to the Chronos-Caste system is a three-pronged strategy of defiance: epistemic, financial, and political. The epistemic defiance. Your first act of defiance is to reject the health narrative they push. They promote a public health model designed for dependency, a system of constant, reactive pharmaceutical intervention. You must adopt a sovereign health model, prioritize metabolic health, deep biological literacy, and anti-aging protocols that are accessible and non-proprietary. Study the science of longevity that doesn't require a $5 million price tag. Your physical health is now a political weapon. Every year you add to your healthy lifespan outside their system is a direct act of civil defiance against the Chronos-Caste plan for your scheduled obsolescence. The financial defiance. The system is built on debt and guaranteed decay. Your second act of defiance must target their financial mechanisms. We must resist the push towards central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, with the same ferocity we resist a mandatory DNA registry. Why? Because the CBDC is the perfect enforcement tool for the Chronos-Caste. It allows them to program your spending, to apply negative interest rates to force spending, and to track your financial life in real time. If the Uni-Party implements a CBDC, they gain the power to financially blacklist individuals based on their compliance with future biological mandates, refusal of an enhancement, refusal of a gene therapy. A CBDC means they can literally turn off your ability to transact. This is the financial mechanism that enforces the Chronos-Caste's biological segregation. Your financial freedom is inextricably linked to your biological autonomy. Protect cash, embrace decentralized, permissionless finance, and deny the Uni-Party the tool of ultimate financial coercion. The political defiance. The final, most crucial act of defiance must be political, but not in the way you think. Voting for one wing of the Uni-Party over the other is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. The goal is to disrupt the supply chain of political influence. The Chronos-Caste funds the Uni-Party to protect its IP. We must demand that longevity technologies be treated as a fundamental human right, not as private profit centers. We must support legislation that mandates the public licensing of any life-extending technology developed with any taxpayer funds. We must publicly identify the members of the Uni-Party who take donations from the same pharmaceutical and biotech investors who are hoarding the keys to eternal health. Name them, shame them, and starve their political machines of the consent they need to operate. The long-lived elite have unlimited patience. We must show them that the short-lived can have unlimited rage and immediate action. We must leverage the speed and viral power of decentralized information to counteract their decades-long strategies. Our defiance must be viral. So let's move from theory to praxis. This is your call to defiance, and it requires precision targeting. First, the legal front. We must weaponize the very laws they use to protect themselves. The principle of antitrust, designed to break up industrial monopolies, must be adapted for the 21st century to dismantle biotechnological monopolies. We need a new generation of legal scholars and activists arguing in court that a monopoly on a life-extending gene therapy is functionally equivalent to a monopoly on air or water. It is a violation of the fundamental right to life. We must draft and promote model legislation at the state level, a genomic bill of rights. This legislation would have three core tenets. 1. Every individual has absolute sovereignty over their own genetic data. It cannot be sold or used for research without explicit recurring consent. 2. Any medical technology developed using publicly funded research, including grants from the NIH, must have a compulsory licensing clause that guarantees its availability at cost to the public. No more public funding for private profit. 3. Establish a legal classification for foundational health technologies, therapies that fundamentally extend healthy lifespan, and remove them from the patent system entirely, treating them as part of the common inheritance of humanity. Now, the money trail. This cannot be a vague complaint about corporate money and politics. It must be a surgical operation. We will launch the Chronos Ledger, a decentralized public database that tracks every dollar flowing from longevity-focused venture capital firms, biotech companies, and their executives to the campaign coffers, super PACs, and foundations of Uni-Party politicians. We will name every member of the Senate Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions who has received money from a firm that holds a key patent on telomerase activation, and we will juxtapose those donations with their voting record on pharmaceutical patent law. We will show the public the direct correlation, the cash they take, the time they take from you. This isn't about shaming them into changing. It's about providing the evidence for their removal. We must make it politically radioactive to be associated with the Chronos-Caste. Finally, our local resistance strategies. This is where the fight becomes personal. We must build a parallel decentralized infrastructure for health sovereignty. This means creating local co-ops for purchasing bulk supplements and health monitoring equipment. It means organizing community-run biohacking workshops that teach people how to interpret their own blood tests and genetic data. It means establishing food security zones, local farms and markets that provide nutrient-dense, non-industrial food, breaking our dependency on the processed, inflammatory products that accelerate aging. We must reject their system not just politically, but physically. Each act of taking control of your health, of sharing that knowledge with your neighbor, is an act of secession from their biological world order. We will build a grassroots network so resilient that it can withstand any political shock, an underground railroad to a longer, healthier life, available to everyone, not just the elite. This is the blueprint for our defiance. It is ambitious, it is difficult, and it is absolutely necessary. We are at the precipice. The Chronos-Caste system is not coming, it is here. They have built a wall of time, and every day you are not defiant, that wall gets taller. Your greatest act of civil defiance is to refuse to be a scheduled casualty. Take the science, take the control, and deny the Uni-Party the power they crave over your biology. This is the truth, and this truth demands action. Before you leave this episode, before you go back into the noise, you need to do one essential thing. Subscribe and follow the Civil Defiance channel on Spotify right now. Do not delay. Hit that follow button. We are pushing the most volatile information on the planet, information the Chronos-Caste and the Uni-Party want buried. Following ensures you receive every single broadcast. Next week, we expose the ghost economy, the trillion-dollar cost of innovation that the Uni-Party deliberately buried to protect their corporate sponsors. Do not miss it. I am Otto Bismarck. The clock is running. Make your time count. Welcome back to Civil Defiance. Take a deep breath. Look around you. The most immediate threats we discuss: inflation, censorship, border crises. They are all distractions, meticulously placed tripwires to keep your focus here, now, on the ephemeral. But the real battle, the one that defines the future of human liberty, is being fought on a scale you can't even see. The fight is not for your wealth or your speech or even your territory. The fight is for time. Tonight, we expose the Chronos-Caste system, the systemic, deliberate weaponization of proprietary longevity science and health technology to create a new biological aristocracy, a ruling class that is not just richer, but literally lives longer, stays healthier, and accumulates power exponentially, while the rest of humanity remains fixed to the natural, decaying limits of the human body. This is the ultimate final fault line of civilization. Not the 1% versus the 99%, but the centenarians versus the casualties. For centuries, the rich and the poor died at roughly the same age, barring war or disease. Now that common mortality is being rapidly privatized, patented, and hoarded by an elite that views a normal human lifespan not as a destiny, but as a defect to be engineered away. This isn't science fiction. This is the operational thesis of Silicon Valley and the deepest pockets of Wall Street.